From Homedale to Salmon River, District 3 has several teams that don't always get their due. Stepping outside the shadows of the SIC, this is the Treasure Valley Prepcast with Logan Green.
That's right. It's time for another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com, breaking down the biggest stories each week for the 3A, 2A, and 1A schools in District 3. I'm Brandon Bainey, and now here is the new Bishop Sycamore superfan, Logan Green. Logan, what's up?
Oh, yeah, that is just the craziest. We were just talking about it, the craziest setup. If you haven't read anything about it, you need to go look it up on whatever outlet you choose. But this school, basically, it's an online charter school that somehow hoodwinked everybody into thinking that they had all these Division I kids on their team and ended up getting on ESPN. And I mean, if you listen to the ESPN broadcast, they kind of get upset at them on TV, saying they lied to us. They said they had D1 offers, and I can't even find any of these kids anywhere. So that's your crazy story for the weekend. Just it's high school football related. I mean, obviously it's not District 3 in Idaho, but it's an interesting story. Just ESPN being hoodwinked by a team to get on TV. And sounds like it's something that the administration and the coaching staff needs to own up to, and definitely not the kids on that team, though.
Yeah, it's too bad. They were just put in a bad situation. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it kind of isn't. And I guess, Logan, to bring it all back to where we're at, I'm glad that we live in the state of Idaho where stuff like that doesn't happen, right? Teams, for the most part, are pretty upfront about when coaches set schedules and things like that. Obviously, I could be wrong. I don't think ESPN's ever come here to broadcast a game. IdahoSports.com, baby.
I know we are ESPN, so and they can't lie to us. I just blows my mind that nobody even did a Google search on them. Like, yeah, you're gonna do that, and nobody prepped, nobody looked at it, and I guarantee that I do every week. I'm looking up stuff on teams and players and past records, and it's just funny that it got that far without anybody looking at anything. I think that's what baffles me, is how did it get that far without a producer, the color guy, the play-by-play guy, anybody realized what was going on. So
yeah, that's a wild story. And that was a school out of Ohio, I believe.
You're right.
So anyways, back here in Idaho, yes, Logan, we had a crazy weekend, really truly opening weekend of high school football. I'll kind of just give you free reign to talk about what stood out to you, some of the scores, some of the players, some of the performances.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like you said, it was just great to be back. I did 6 games this weekend. So did one Thursday night, Friday night, and then 4 on Saturday. And it was just great to be back. It was great to see people there in the stands and in the atmosphere. I did a home game for I say home in quotes for Capital. It was at Donna Larson, but a true home game for Middleton. And that's always fun when it's a true home game for a team at their place with their fans. You got the kids over on the side playing football the whole time in the grass. It's always fun to see. And then 4 8-man games at Middleton that were all had their own intricate stories and storylines and results. So it was just good to be back in the saddle and back at some football games again.
You pretty much hit every level except the 3A, 2A, 1A Treasure Valley teams, but that's right, how the schedule works sometimes, right?
Everybody but my group. But hey, I mean, it'll be teams that play them. Like we saw, when it comes to playoff times, these are going to be teams that meet. Like I saw Lighthouse Christian. Of course, they played Notice in the first round, and Notice really struggled with them. Lighthouse looked pretty good in that game against Kendrick, but I think of all the teams I saw, I think Kendrick stood out as And I know that's Paul's pick to win 1AD2, and I don't think it's a bad pick after seeing them. They looked really good. Their quarterback, Kep, he looked like a quarterback. Just, some guys are athletic, just play quarterback, but he truly looked like a quarterback back there. And I know this isn't our region to be discussing, but they looked really good. Just a lot of good football around the state. But I think if you look in, the teams that we cover, just we're going to look at some scores. Just if you haven't gotten a chance to look at the scoreboard around the state for the 1A, 2A, 3As right here in the Treasure Valley. We'll just go over some scoring recaps for you. Of course, Rimrock, they fell to Dietrich 52-8. Garden Valley fell to Cary 52-0. I think that was one that we discussed it last week. We're going to say, where does Garden Valley sit? And maybe it's going to take some time for the Wolverines to get it rolling. Greenleaf fell to Hagerman 50-26. Then Horseshoe Bend was all over Idaho City. So that's a team that we talked about being a potential strong dark horse, or maybe a dark Mustang, I should say, team to look out for in 1AD2. And they played well, won by 30. And then Notice was all over Tri-Valley, 54-12. We'll get more into that a little bit later, but just a phenomenal effort by those Pirates, from Notice. Of course, Wilder all over Salmon River, 52-0. McCall Donnelly beat Orofino 41-8. And then the close game of the night between teams, we had Fruitland and Melba was 20-16 in favor of Fruitland. So Fruitland squeaks one out against the Mustangs. So we both went against Melba in our picks to win the conference, but maybe not. Maybe Melba is right back where we thought they'd be. Nampa Christian beat Wendell 40-12. New Plymouth beat Parma 12-0. Marsing beat Valley 48-6. Weiser all over Buell, and I think that was a big one. I think a lot of people like Buell this year. A lot of people think they're going to be strong, and Weiser all over them, 35-6. We talked about Weiser being one of those strong teams in 3A, and I think they proved it. And then Coal Valley Christian all over Payette, 43-20. We'll also get to that one. And then finally, just to wrap it up, the one that surprised me the most, Brandon, Homedale and Caldwell. Homedale won. I think everybody kind of expected that, but 36-24, a lot closer. Honestly, a lot closer than I thought. And I know this is scratching up to 4A, but it's good to see Caldwell playing that well. I know it's a level down from them, but I don't think Homedale's that far off from a lot of 4A schools. They beat Emmett last year. They hung with Middleton most of the game. I think they're right there at that level. And Caldwell hung with them and only lost by 12. And so it's good to see Caldwell playing a little bit better and being more competitive.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a paradox in some of these early season matchups that are closer than what you anticipate. The question is Caldwell better than we thought?
Right.
Or is Homedale maybe not as good as we thought? And the other game that really stood out to me in terms of that paradox was New Plymouth only defeating Parma 12-0. Is Parma a lot better than we're giving them credit for? Or maybe is New Plymouth not quite in that upper echelon of teams like we thought? So
yeah, and you're exactly right. You look at these and it's hard to really gauge things like that and say, where are teams? Another one that and I'm going to eat crow right now because I said it, that I didn't think Wilder's defense needed to show me something. Well, they showed me. I mean, Salmon River, not the strongest team, but to shut out anyone is tough. It doesn't matter who you are, but to go and beat them 52-0, Wilder caught my attention this weekend, and we will be at Wilder a week from, not this weekend, but next weekend, as they welcome in Cary. And now all of a sudden, does that game look a lot better than it did a week ago before the season started? I think, at least to me, that sparked my attention and saying, whoa, I think we just walked into a really great potential week 3 matchup that we weren't expecting.
Yeah, I think the early season, and you talk about a team that comes out and dominates, but not only dominates, but pitches the shutout. McCall Donnelly really stood out to me as well. They're playing a 2A opponent in Orofino, but you talk to their coach and their players this year, and they're pretty excited. McCall Donnelly thinks they've got a pretty good chance.
Yeah, I know DJ Green was just everywhere in that game, and he's going to be tough to handle. And I think, if we talked a lot about Homedale, a lot about Weiser, and McCall Donnelly's over there like, wait a second, we're here. We were just in the 2A state championship just 2 years ago. And last year might've been down, this first year playing up at 3A. But you got a year of that under your belt, and look out. They looked really good. So you never know. We'll see what the Vandals can do this year. Excited to see, like you said, once week 2 rolls around, we learn a little bit more to these stories. Like the one you questioned. Is Parma a lot better than we thought, or is Nampa or New Plymouth not as good? We'll find out more next week.
Yeah, I think what we thought coming into the season, though, especially with the 3A SRV, the Snake River Valley Conference, it's going to be wild, man. With Homedale and Weiser and McCall Donnelly and Fruitland is kind of the forgotten team over here, but they're like, hey, we're 1-0 as well. We beat a pretty good team.
They beat Melba, who's always a strong 2A team. It's like Fruitland. How many state championships in a row did they go to? And from 2011 to 2018, it was like every other year they were there. And they're kind of forgot. There's just so much going on that it's hard to really get to everybody. And I think, man, it's going to be exciting once they start getting rolling over there. Excited to see how it'll shake out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating. With the other thing we talked about is the Max Preps ratings in terms of trying to get a schedule put together that's going to pay off for you. I think Fruitland certainly did that with the win over Melba, and then we expect maybe Melba to turn around and pile up a bunch of wins in the 2A conference there. So I mean, that's going to be something to keep an eye on as well. Teams are going to be charting not only how they're doing, but also, hey, how did this team we beat in week 1? How are they doing still? So
exactly. It'll be, the transitive property argument is, I always enjoy that. Like 1 year, the Vandals or Idaho beat somebody who beat somebody who beat somebody who beat somebody, and it got all the way to Duke. And it was like, Idaho's better than Duke. So how's that? So it's always fun to see that. And, I'm sure teams will be looking at that here coming pretty soon. Well, if so-and-so beat so-and-so, then I think we could beat so-and-so. So we'll see. I mean, there was a lot of great, not only games, but individual performances this weekend. And I think probably one of the highlights is, and we talked about him last week, was Carter Fortin from Coal Valley Christian. Just a phenomenal game against Payette for the Chargers. He goes for 260 yards and 5 touchdowns through the air, and he adds another one on the ground. That's a heck of a way to have your opening week, right? And then, of course, my pick was Nampa Christian, right? And Landon Cheney comes out 312 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that's going to be a tough conference. You got 2 of the best quarterbacks in 2A right here, a couple miles down the road from each other, really. So when those 2 match up later on in the season, it's gonna be a great one. Of course, Carter Woodland for Notice ran for 210 yards in that win against Tri-Valley. Here's the thing. He did it on 11 carries. He averaged 20 yards a carry. Even starting at the 20-yard line, it just takes him 4 runs and he's in the end zone, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Notice was up something like 40-0 in the first quarter. Probably could have been a lot worse. Moved some kids around, but he also had 4 touchdowns. So just a lot of great individual efforts here in the Treasure Valley this weekend. Just there's great athletes all over the board.
Yeah, that Coal Valley Christian game was actually played on Saturday night because they played it at Columbia High School, and Columbia, of course, had their own game on Friday night. So
right,
that was kind of an interesting scheduling quirk. All right, so you kind of outlined the best individual performances. Let's give out the bronze, the silver, and the gold. We'll give out medals here. Does that sound all right?
That is fine. I think the So I'm gonna go. So I have 3 stars to give out at the end for all sports.
For all sports. Okay, let's save it to the end then.
Let's save it. Let's
Okay.
go to the end because I have a team that I want to recognize that's not football. So we'll give out those medals at the end.
Okay.
Well, we'll give it away once we get into it. But
right.
We'll leave you sitting on the edge of your chairs waiting to come back. I mean, these are more prestigious than the Heisman, so
that's
you
for
should
sure.
be waiting. But
yeah, this will be good. That's a good tease. Okay, hey, I did want to mention really quick. Speaking of competitions, we are bringing back to IdahoSports.com our Gridiron game picks. It went live on the site today, so everyone was asking us last week for week 1. They said, "Hey, are you guys doing the football picks again this year?" We had people asking left and right, and we said, "Well, because COVID happened last year, we kind of had to shelve it because the schedule changed so much. And we wanted to give ourselves a buffer week just in case the worst happened and COVID-19 reared its ugly head again." We did have one game actually get canceled. Ridgeview was supposed to play Century and they had to cancel. But so we kind of gave ourselves a cushion week, so to speak, in case COVID-19 came up again. So, but now that we feel confident that we're going to proceed as normal. Yeah. Every single game in the state of Idaho, all you have to do is register with a profile on IdahoSports.com. It's right on the homepage. You click on Gridiron Game Picks. You make your picks. You pick every single game in the state of Idaho. You're going to be competing against me. You're going to be competing against Logan. You're going to be competing against Paul Kingsbury, and you're going to be competing against each other as well. So it's going to be pretty exciting, and there's going to be some cash prizes. We're going to give out the winner each week is going to get $25, which, hey, these days with the price of gas and groceries, that helps out a lot. And also
that'll get you about a mile down the road right now.
It's that wasn't a good analogy, was it? That wasn't very good.
But I mean, $25 will help because
Yes.
everything's so expensive. It is like even my Civic is a pain to put gas in. I hate it.
Oh, dude, it's brutal right now. I'm ready for fall to maybe these prices go down. So you win $25 if you get the most games picked correctly. And then we have a season winner as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't filled mine out yet. I'm waiting until I do all the Prepcasts so I can get all the insider info. And then I'll know which games to pick.
I know I started mine and I'm like, I need more time to look at. I was kind of just picking them on the fly. And then I started getting down where I'm like, I need to do a little more. I need to look a little more carefully before I just start picking people. So it's fun. It's fun. I mean, I'm going to win, so it's really not, it's not much of a competition, but it'll be fun for everybody else to try and catch me.
Yeah, it'll be fun for sure. So, and then these are live until 7:00 Friday night to lock in your picks. It's the Gridiron Game Picks on IdahoSports.com, and it's right on the homepage. It could be for some cold hard cash against the IdahoSports.com experts, quote unquote. So.
Yeah, quote experts. Right.
Okay, so with that said, do you want to look ahead to some of the games we have coming up this Friday, this weekend, and talk about what stands out?
Yeah, let me sorry, I'm going through my notes really quick on my
do we miss anything else from the previous week that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I mean, I think we hit on most of them. We'll look at I do want to kind of go over some soccer scores here really quick.
Okay, sure.
I think some teams had some strong weeks. Had a strong week last week. Weiser beat Emmett 1-0. Weiser that they fell to Middleton 3-2. I mean, that's honorable. Middleton, a great 4A soccer team.
Is this boys or girls, Logan?
Sorry, this is boys. Sorry,
boys. Okay.
This is boys soccer. And then Weiser beat Baker 3-0. Payette beat Nissa 4-1, and McCall beat Baker 2-1 in boys soccer. And then on the other side in girls soccer, Weiser beat Emmett 4-1. Payette beat Nissa 4-0. Weiser beat Baker City 8-2, and McCall beat Baker City 5-0. So the Idaho schools coming out real strong against the Oregon schools this week in soccer, in both boys and girls. And so that's kind of, I just wanted to tip my hat to those soccer players here in the state, here in Treasure Valley, the 3A girls and boys soccer players for sweeping everybody. The only loss on the weekend was just a Weezer's loss to Middleton. Everybody else won. So it was a good week for soccer here in the Treasure Valley.
Yeah, no shame in falling to Middleton. They've got a pretty good program there.
No.
So. Yeah.
So I want to look at, before I get to my last thing, let's look at some of the games this week. I think the big game that I'm looking at is a cross-level game. It's Fruitland and Nampa Christian. That one on Friday night at Fruitland. This will give us a test to see, because I picked Nampa Christian, right? I picked them to win the conference,
right?
And I'm still staying there. I don't know. Carter Fortin's night against Payette has got me sweating a little bit.
And he picked Coal Valley Christian.
Yeah,
that's
I don't know.
I did.
You know what's too? I was looking. Shea McClellan put up some. He retweeted Carter's huddle highlights, and I was watching them, and some of those routes were real smooth. And I joked. I said, surely this defensive guy couldn't have drawn up these plays, right? But no, they looked really good. The highlights I saw looked good. And I know Payette, typically not your strongest team, but still to go out and drop 43 points on a team higher than you that's impressive.
Yeah.
Also, we've got Weezer and Emmett are going to play Friday night. That should be another good one. Of course, two teams that were, Emmett obviously last year was very impressive, and Emmett stomped Boise on Friday night. So Emmett looks to be good. I know Boise typically struggles, but they also dropped 40 points on Boise. So I think that'll be a great game. Looking forward to that Emmett and Weezer game. Elsewhere,
I'll tell you one that I'm excited to look at, and that's a pair of 1-0 teams, Wilder against Horseshoe Bend.
Yes.
We talked about how Wilder came out and really impressed. Well, here they are, second week in a row playing a really tough opponent, and you thought Cary was tough. Well, Horseshoe Bend's no picnic either.
No, and I think that'll be a great also base game for Wilder. We'll find out if they're really good or if Salmon River was just not that great. It's probably a combination of the two, but that should be a good game. Horseshoe Bend, of course, like we said, they stomped Idaho City, and I think they were the pick that we both had to win that conference. So got to watch out for that game, see who comes out there. Also, keep an eye on Melba and North Fremont. Of course, that's a long drive. That'll be on Saturday at Melba. But North Fremont making the drive over here, and North Fremont just a dominant team the last couple of years in Eastern Idaho, making the long drive over to play Melba. So we'll see how that one shakes out. I think that's probably the best 2A versus 2A game on the dock. But like you said, at the 1A level, I think that we'll also see Council. Council was off last week; they didn't play. Council is going to play Notice, so we'll see how Council shakes up. I know a lot of people thought maybe Council was a team that could challenge Horseshoe Bend, and so I think we'll see real quick if they're one of those teams that can challenge them in that game against Notice. I don't think anybody probably expects them to beat Notice, but how well can they hang with Notice? How well can they do? And then, of course, Meadows Valley kicking off against Salmon River. So that's actually a really close matchup. Those two teams not too far apart, as long as there's not a landslide or a rock slide between the two towns. It's pretty quick as long as that's not there. You have to say that here because it seems like there's always a rock slide there. Not always, but it's more common than people think.
Yeah, this will be Meadows Valleys. That's hard to say. Meadow Valleys. Yeah, anyways, it'll be there for the Mountaineers' first game in more than 20 years, which is pretty exciting as well. So I wanted to talk about that North Fremont Melba matchup really quick.
Yeah.
Even though Melba's 0-1 and North Fremont is 1-0, I actually came away from week one more impressed with Melba than I did North Fremont. North Fremont is a team that got to the semifinals last year in the 2A playoffs, and to hear their fans and supporters talk, they thought they should have been in the championship game. They lost to Firth 7-6 when they fumbled in a blizzard late in the game, and Firth took it back for a touchdown. And so I was expecting more from them, and they were playing a 3A school, but it's Filer, a 3A program that really has struggled and has a brand new coach, and they only won 34-27. It was a one-score game. So North Fremont to me wasn't as impressive as I thought, whereas Melba actually played really well against Fruitland. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, for as much as we said we like some of the other teams in the WIC better than Melba. I think Melba, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Melba beats North Fremont. And I guess that would be my official pick when I do the football picks later this week. So,
yeah. And I don't think that's a bad pick either. I agree. I think looking at that score, I thought they probably should have beat Filer by a little bit more. But then Melba hung tough with Fruitland. And again, it goes back to maybe Fruitland's not good and we just don't know yet, but it's hard to know. But I can't imagine that they're not a strong team this year after last year. And I think Melba hung with them tough. And like you said, it'll be interesting to see how that one shakes out on a Saturday. So if you got nothing else to do, if your game's wrapped up, just you play Friday night, you can go to Melba on Saturday and check that one out. I guess that's a benefit of playing on Saturday.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's going to be a fun matchup. And then otherwise on the schedule this week, we have some cross-state games, right? Coal Valley Christian is going to play Nissa in Oregon, and Parma is going to play Vail High School. So those will be interesting ones to keep an eye on.
Yeah. And then there's just one more. I look at it's a 2-0-1 teams. And I know Glenn's Ferry is not with us, but they're like fringe, right? They're right on the edge.
They're there. Yeah.
And they play Idaho City, and they were at the 8-man showcase. They got beat on the scoreboard. It wasn't pretty against Prairie, but that game, if you look at the final score, you would not realize how close that game was. It was 14-8 in the second quarter. Midway through, when they Glenn's Ferry scored 25-yard run, got called back by a penalty. And that really just derailed everything. They were going to go up on Prairie, and it was going to be a one, they were going to lead or be down by a score or so going into halftime. And I thought Glenn's Ferry looked really good, to be honest. I know they lost, but I was very impressed with the Pilots. I think that they're going to have a sneaky good year. They play in an extremely tough conference. I know Paul's probably killing me. I'm taking all his stuff for his 8-man one, but
8-man takes.
but that's a team I like to look out for if you want to stretch outside the area for just a minute here. But I think Glenn's Ferry will be a lot better than they have been in the past.
Yeah, and can Idaho City rebound right after a disappointing opener? That'll be interesting. 0-2 holes.
So it'll be two teams looking to bounce back, and so that's why I'd like to. I think that will be a good test game for both of them to see where they stand after tough games week one.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch. And I forgot to mention earlier when I was talking about Oregon versus Idaho, Homedale is also playing Ontario, which is a bigger school in Oregon. That'll be a fun matchup to watch as well. So, all right. So we've kind of previewed the slate coming up. Let's hand out your stars to the top performers from the week that was. So this is going to be a weekly feature where you're going to kind of pick 3 that you like. And
it can be a player. It can be a team. It can be the offensive line for so-and-so that didn't allow a sack, or, whatever it may be, just 3 outstanding performances for the week.
Cool.
And the first, so the bronze medal, I'm going to go to Carter Woodland from Notice. I think a phenomenal game he had with the 210 rushing yards on 11 carries. I think that's just the key thing. A lot of players you see can get 200 yards a game if they're just pounding it all night, but he barely ran the ball. 10 carries. That's a typical running back will have 40 yards, 30 yards on 10 carries. And he had 210 on 11. So Carter Woodland gets the bronze star. Silver medal or silver star, whatever you want to say. Let's go Carter Fortin He had a great game. Like I said, 260 yards, 5 touchdowns through the air, and 1 on the ground, and a win against a 3A school. And we say they had to go up and play 3A, and this kind of a side note, but I don't know how long Coal Valley is going to stay a 2A. There was an interesting article in the news last week or the week before about how they're anticipating their enrollment to just shoot through the roof. They're going to build a new school kind of out near where the Owyhee location is. And so, they double in size, get a little bit bigger. Of course, they're a K through 12, but you never know. You might see the Chargers move up a little bit, and they might turn out to be one of those new powerful programs in the state with their growing enrollment.
I could see them being very similar to like a Bishop Kelly in the 3A ranks. Right.
Yep. And I think it's very reasonable to see that occurring. But we won't take away from Carter Fortin, the Silver Star of the week.
And then can I mention also
great effort.
He also came through it on defense and got a sack also.
He did. Yeah, he did. I forgot to mention that, had a sack.
Yeah.
You don't see your quarterback who has potential to play at the D1 level going out and playing defense too, right? You don't see that much. And just a great effort from him. So Carter Fortin, the silver medal of the week. And then my gold medal goes to the Horseshoe Bend girls volleyball team. They won that tournament there at New Plymouth this weekend, and they go 5-0 in that tournament. And that they had the opening round, and they played New Plymouth, Prairie, and Payette in pool play. Breezed through those 3 teams, and then go on to beat Potlatch. And Potlatch, if I'm correct, beat Tri-Valley earlier. So the Loggers, no joke there, right? Potlatch looking strong.
Yeah, they were good last year too, Potlatch.
Mm-hmm. And so Horseshoe Bend comes in, beats Potlatch, and then they go in and beat Coal Valley Christian to finish it off, a 2A school. So gold medal goes to Horseshoe Bend. Of course, they came in 3rd last year. They won the conference, the tournament. Of course, we talked to Tri-Valley Coach Uhlencott a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of expected that Horseshoe Bend would come out firing after ending their season the way they did, losing to a conference team in the state semifinals, coming home 3rd. But looks like the Horseshoe Bend girls volleyball team might have eclipsed Tri-Valley early in the season, at least, as maybe the team to look out for here in the Treasure Valley. So gold medal to the Horseshoe Bend girls volleyball team.
Yeah, they're led by, they have 3 sophomores on their team that earned all conference honors as freshmen a year ago. Annalise Wilson, who I think is one of the best all-around players in the Treasure Valley. And then you've also got Abby Howerton and Tori Cheetah. I mean, that's an incredible nucleus, and they're only sophomores. And we talked about that in our preseason Prepcast we did, kind of talking about the volleyball teams. And I said, if those young players could take that next step, I don't know that anybody's going to hang with Horseshoe Bend. Tri-Valley, I think, is having to reassess, okay, how do we beat these? How do we beat this team? And I think teams around the state are going to take notice as well. And
like you said, they're sophomores now. It's scary that they're just getting started in their 2nd year, and they have basically 3 full seasons to go. And to go into that tournament and play 2A schools and just kind of roll through it, you got to be impressed. And if you're Horseshoe Bend, you got to be, if you're the community there, you got to be excited about what you're seeing from your athletics right now, and your volleyball team looking extremely strong, and probably going to get strong consideration to maybe even in the coaches poll to be high up there, potentially 1 or 2. You got to think they'll be up there. And then your boys, your football team, having a dominant win against Idaho City, and a huge matchup with Wilder this weekend. So exciting sporting events going on there in Horseshoe Bend. A good time to be a Mustang.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch those athletes as the season goes along. So, well, I think we've said all that we can say about what happened. We feel like we know a little bit, but we'll know a lot more next week after everybody gets a second game or a second weekend of matches under their belts.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I can't believe week 1's already ready. We built it up so much. Can't wait for it to get here. And now you're already planning for week 2 games, and looking ahead to see what's in week 3 too. So just glad that sports are rolling again. And we had a very successful first weekend of around the state across all sports.
Yes. And like we said, really only one game impacted by COVID-19, which is so awesome and so tremendous. So that's
Right.
exciting. All right. Well, I didn't see Bishop Sycamore anywhere on anybody's schedules for week 2. So
They're not. I'm not taking them this week. I'm not taking them.
Yeah, there's some free advice. Don't pick Bishop Sycamore in the Gridiron game picks, but don't forget to do that on IdahoSports.com. It's right on the homepage. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you back here next week. For Logan Green, I'm Brandon Baney. Enjoy week 2, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you back here next time from IdahoSports.com.